Welcome, 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 everyone, back to the Founders Only podcast, where we pick the brains of great founders to deliver actionable advice on how to be the leader of the pack. Today, I'm so thrilled to welcome Chris Keifer. Chris is an engineer, entrepreneur, podcaster, thought leader, and founder of BooleanReview, the highest converting Google review software for home service companies in the market. Welcome.
Mia, thank you so much. Great intro. Looking forward to today.
Awesome. Awesome. So let's just jump right in. Can you tell us about your journey from engineering to becoming the founder of Boolean Review?
Absolutely. So I, from the day, as soon as I could play with toys from a young age, I was playing with Legos and blocks and building stuff. And from as long as I can remember, everyone in my life said, "Oh, Chris, he's going to be an engineer. He loves creating things. He's so good with Legos and connects and stuff," which I still love, by the way. But I was just like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm an engineer. I'm an engineer. And you just hear that over and over, the direct definition of all the people that tell you who you are before you know
Mm-hmm.
who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to school, graduate high school. Where am I going to go to college? I'm going to go to get an engineering degree because that's what I was going to do. Got an engineering degree from a small college in Montana called Carroll, and graduated from, I had great internships, graduated from Carroll College, and took a job as an engineer in Portland as a structural engineer. And I lasted about 6 months before I was like, I can't do this. Like, you look at the people that are in your coworkers in the quote unquote real world when you get a real job, and just felt like nobody was happy. And obviously it's not like engineers are sad people in general, but for whatever reason, I was in a particular business that just seemed like it was a pretty boring existence of like monotonous work. It was in a really cool building, like on the 28th floor of a high rise in Portland. And I was like, I'm the high roller, just graduated from school, got an awesome job, and very quickly was like, I can't do this. And so I would say, I'll tell a personal story. The What happened though prior, and the reason why there was the shift in me when I was a junior in college, my dad, who is a PE teacher, had taught at the same PE school elementary school in PE, K through 6, for 33 years. And at the end of his career, he goes to retire in May, literally a couple weeks after retiring. And this is when I was a junior, in between my sophomore and junior year. So I just finished my sophomore year, come home to see my dad. He wasn't feeling quite right. He goes to the doctor, and because he was not a person that he never went to the doctor. He was never sick, but something was off. So he went to the doctor, which meant something was wrong because Terry didn't go to the doctor. Ends up finding out that he has pancreatic cancer. 3 months later, he passed away, which was hard. That was, it's been 12 years now. But I went back to school junior year, and I kind of just was like finishing out this engineering degree. I did, like I said, I graduated, I went back, took a structural engineering job. And the way I describe it now, because if you've ever lost somebody, it's hard to, you don't like, the grieving process is different for everybody, and it's hard to know what's going to happen and how it's
Yeah.
going to affect you. And it still affects you, like, even 12 years later, there's moments of like sadness and joy and thanks and all that stuff. But um for me, in that, like, as a senior or a recent graduate from college, I feel like I like matured or grew up like 20 years in the matter of 2 years. So it was
Mm,
like, all of a sudden, the stuff that I thought was important and making a lot of money in the cars and like the dream job, all of it, like, it's like didn't matter, because when you are at a funeral of your dad when you're 21 years old, you're just kind of like, oh, I don't have a lot of time. So I don't have time to waste in a job that I wasn't 100% certain I was going to love. And so that's like 6 months into my job, I went into my boss's office and said, I'm quitting and I'm gonna go do this video production thing. And
mhm.
there's another story there, but a marketing company that I founded had some employees, spun that down, took a marketing director job, zoom forward. Now I'm the owner of Boolean, and it's a review software, and we found a little niche which we can talk more about. But that's how I got to where I am today.
So I definitely, first of all, my sincere apologies for your loss. And I'm going to actually talk a little bit about my own personal story that is very similarly aligned with yours, since you brought it up. But I do also want to circle back and get a little bit more detail into how you created Boolean Review, what prompted that actually to happen. But before we get there, I really find it interesting because I I've lost both my parents. I lost my brother. Tons of immediate family, and had a lot of just dealt all kinds of stuff with loss, and it's played out in different ways every single time. And so I can't tell you how much it resonates with me, how from the fact that it affects everyone differently, that each time and the circumstances around each loss can just really change the way that you deal with that loss versus a different loss. And then also when you talked about how you aged in a certain period of time so much faster. And actually, I think you just unlocked something for me when you said that, because when my father passed away, it was my father was an immigrant. And he didn't have much education, and I was his only American born child. And so he put, all this pressure on me to be, you know a lot of things. And um and I felt like I was always failing him. Like I felt like I was never kind of meeting his expectations and standards. And I took a PMP certification. I'm not sure if you know what that is, but it's project management professional certification. I would say I'm an expert test taker, but my God, that's the hardest test by leaps. And you would have thought I went to medical school and I was taking like an exam on the whole human body or something.
Mm,
Anyway, he passed away the day after I took and passed with flying colors this pivotal exam for my professional career at the time, and also now. But anyway, it's like at that moment everything started to come together for me. As soon as he passed away, it was like all these things that I wish I could have shown him so that he would
mm,
have known that I was okay. Because I think at the end of the day, even though he didn't know how to express it, I think at the end of the day, he just wanted me to be okay. He
mm,
wanted his child to not just achieve some huge amount of success, but to not need him, to not need anybody else, to just be able to be a responsible citizen and adult and all those kinds of things. And so, I really get it. Um,
mhm.
and also you said one other thing that really resonated with me was that you said that you picked a a career path in school or before school even, that didn't align really with what you wanted to do, and you knew that, like you knew it intuitively before you even got too far into it, which is the same thing that happened to me for a variety of reasons. But I get that too. But it is interesting though. I will say that my son, who is an adult, he has always been. I've told him his whole life, as well as other people, you're going to be an engineer. He went to Lego. He went to Lego camp, summer camp
Mm,
every year at the National Building Museum here in DC, and he was, always just fixing everything and building things at the smallest age. And I couldn't even, he would come and bring me these amazing Lego creations, and as soon as he would put them in my hands, they would fall apart. Because I was so not, able to I didn't have what he had.
mm.
I don't have what he has. So anyway, just really I loved hearing your story. So now let's back up and talk about Boolean Review. So, how did you get from starting this video production and marketing company to Boolean Review? Was there something that, some way you uncovered, hey, this is this problem that we can solve, or that I can solve for this group of people? How did you kind of land there?
Yeah. So interesting for me is that like in this career, like one thing I would say about engineering is that I am like, I think like an engineer. I am like getting an engineering degree was a great thing for me. I use engineering thinking all the time, but it was like this realization of I can like make my own path. I don't have to just take the job that's in front of me. And I always had this drive to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know, like from an early age, I was like, I just want to like start a business. Like I just was like inspired by that. I didn't know
Mm,
what it would be. So I made a like my business when I like my first business when I quit the engineering job, I had bought a drone. This was
mhm,
like back, 10 years ago, DJI Phantoms for people that are into drones. The
mhm.
DJI Phantom 1 had just come out and I had bought it and I was like, this is so cool. It's like new technology and nobody was doing it. And I was like, I could start a business and take aerial photos and videos and stuff. So that was my plan. I didn't like people are like, make a business plan and, have people like, I literally was like, I hate this job. I like drones and I think I could sell them. And that was my plan. That was it.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
like I started calling realtors and doing lunch and learns and just like cold calling people. It was tough, but I made videos and I make another video and another video and like it grew. And then I hired a videographer who was better than I was and went to school for that. And then we did bigger projects. And then eventually people were like, can you make a website? And we are like, yeah, we could probably do that too. And so we like keep figuring it out. But what happened was one dentist that we was actually my personal dentist, or orthodontist, I should say, who had given me braces when I was a kid. She needed some stuff, and we were working with her on some video projects. And then this oral surgeon that worked with her said, "Hey, you're a marketing company. Can you help me get Google reviews?" And we
Mhm.
were like, "Yeah, we figure out all sorts of stuff. We could probably figure out this Google review thing." And so it started as like this very like a specific need of an oral surgeon. We made this process, which initially was just like sending emails to customers or
Mhm.
to patients of his. And then we like, made it better and we added texting and then we started including images and stuff. And then next thing you know, we're going to dental trade shows and trying to sell this to dentists because it worked really well for this dentist. But it was a manual process.
Mhm.
And the fast forward version or the faster story is as we are trying to pursue this dental space, looking back, I learned several things here. One is I believe strongly that most entrepreneurial minded people are going to come across dozens of ideas in their daily life that they encounter that are
Absolutely.
just like these gold mines of opportunities. You don't have to
Absolutely.
go like fabricate something. It's literally like, what are people having pain like around right now? And what are you suited to solve? And so in this case, there was dentists that we were coming across that were like, we need Google reviews. So we solved that problem. And then we started pursuing the dental space. And it's funny to me now looking back that we were like, this is a dental problem. Only dentists need Google reviews. And so we started going to dental trade shows. But what an interesting part about the dental or healthcare space is that because of HIPAA laws, the software companies that the practices run their business on are so locked down. APIs are closed. You have to be a mega like player in the space
Right.
to even get Henry
Connected.
Schein or Colgate or any of these large dentist company like the dental companies to even consider like a conversation of integrating with your tool. So what happened was in the dental space, it was this amazing software, but it required a behavior change in the office, and the staff would actually have to enter in customer information into
Mm,
our tool instead of
mm.
seamlessly connecting it.
Connecting to the
So
CRM.
after,
Ah,
2, 3 years of trying to get this off the ground in dental world and going just all over the country to these dental conferences and cold calling dentists and trying to pitch this product over and over,
wow.
it was like, all right, I guess, we had 50 clients and it was going well. And it was like, I mean, like, it was a success and like it was bringing in money and it was me. I had coded the whole thing. And so it was like some passive income for a while. But then I was like, okay, we want to have kids and this is not going to cut it. So I just took a marketing director job because I had run a marketing agency for 6 years. And I had this software that was kind of like a side thing. I was like, well, nothing's gonna amount or come of that. So I take this marketing director job at a company in Bend, Oregon. It was just like in town. And
Mm-hmm.
it was a painting company called Webfoot. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, this seems like a cool job for a couple months or a year or who knows how long. Like it's an interesting job I was well suited for. And within 2 months of being in this job, I asked the owners of the company, hey, I made this review software and we only have 60 Google reviews right now. Could I connect my software to this and we can get rid of this other crappy reputation management software that doesn't work and it wasn't generating any reviews? And this company had been in business for 15 years. They
Right.
had 67 Google reviews when I started and connected my tool.
Right.
Over the next 2 years, Webfoot became the highest rated painting company in the entire country. They had in the 2 year period, I think they got up to 750 or 800 Google reviews, and
Wow.
they had like a 4.95 average, ridiculously high. And
Wow.
without knowing this, so again, I was just like the marketing guy that like connected my app that I had built that I was like, well, doesn't work because dentists didn't like it.
Right.
And I had fully integrated, automated the entire process, tweaked some things, optimized it for home service. And all of a sudden, like turns out Webfoot's in a mastermind with other painting companies.
Uh,
And they're like, wait, last time we looked, you guys had like 100 reviews. You've got eight. What are you guys doing?
uh,
And it was
uh,
just like an organic, like then someone else is
uh.
like, hey, can we use that software? Can we use that software? And starts ramping up. My wife starts selling the software because I'm still a marketing director. She starts selling the software to more painting companies. And next thing you know, we've got, 30 painting companies all over the country that use our software. And then an electrician is like, hey, could we use that? And we're like, probably. And then, a plumber and an HVAC and all this people like all of a sudden you've got a reasonably sized business. And we're like, hey, there's something here. And so about 18 months ago, my wife has been selling the software for just over 2 years. But
Mhm.
about 18 months ago, I said, I'm going to leave my marketing director job and actually like double down on this and actually invest time and energy and start improving the product because it had been kind of static for the 2 years that we were selling it to other businesses. But it's literally been crushing the home service space for painting companies. And just for context, a typical reputation management software that's just kind of you plug in and you set it and forget it.
Mhm.
It converts about 2 to 3% of your customers into Google reviews.
Sure.
And most people have no idea because the softwares will get a lot of reviews, but they're not on Google. So it'll be like a microsite that's like filtering reviews to some other site. And the bad thing about that is that those companies, the reputation management companies, they own those reviews. And
Mhm.
worse for the business is those reviews aren't on Google. So
Right.
now, like you've hundreds of reviews on some microsite that a customer that's looking on Google is never going to see.
Right.
And your Google listing only has, 50 reviews, but you've worked
Right.
with thousands of customers.
Right.
So when I was the marketing director, I was like, I'm going to build the tool for a painting company that is the best tool for a painting company that there is. And it ended up, being a massive success at Webfoot, and then the other painters took on, and now we're looking into like AI stuff and incorporating photos and like all sorts of cool stuff, which is just feeding my like hunger for tech and all that stuff. So that's the that's my summary there would be, I thought that like businesses were founded because like you fabricate an idea, and I would now tell people like there's problems right in front of you that you can
Yes.
solve. And the other aha that I wish I would have known back when I was trying to sell this to dentists was maybe it's not for dentists.
Right.
Maybe there's another market that you're not even paying
Right.
attention to.
Yes.
And it never even crossed my mind. I was like, dentist, keep getting rejected, rejected, rejected. And it was like, oh, we could just go into this industry, which does allow integrations, and boom, it exploded.
I love that. I love how this just so organically solved its own problems. How you
Mm.
just went through these different phases, and but you were determined but not focused on it. It just almost happened like how they say, if you want to find the one, just don't focus on dating, like just live your life, and it kind of just happens organically. This is what it sounds like to me. So actually, you brought up something just now that I actually want to talk about very briefly, since it is so timely right now. But so you said that you have been thinking about adding in or working on adding in AI into the mix for this platform specifically. So what does that look like for you? What is the process that you're going about, you know, building out requirements, specking that aspect of the product out? I'm assuming that maybe the dev team that you have working on that have built the product out to where it is now may not be experts in deving AI. So is
Mm.
that the case? Like, have you done any exploration into figuring out how to fill maybe some skill gaps in your dev team to build out that specific functionality into your
Yeah.
current platform?
Yeah. So one of the things that we like, my focus with the review software from the beginning was a belief that I have that as humans, we're incredibly busy people, and people have been talking about like website load times forever. Like if a website takes longer than a second, like you're losing traffic, that type
Right.
of thing. People are happy to leave you a review for your business. Just don't make it take more than 30 seconds to do it. Like if it's too many screens or things aren't loading fast or whatever, like I just don't have, it's as pitiful as it sounds. I don't have 5 minutes to leave you a review.
Yeah.
I've got about 30 seconds. So
Yeah.
this better
Yeah.
be quick, but I'm more than happy to endorse you and tell you I loved your service, but don't make it hard for me. And that's
Yes.
the consumer talking. So from the beginning, my focus on the software was like, how do we make this super easy? Give them all of the stuff that they would need to leave the review. So we tap directly into the CRM system or the project management system of the home service company.
Right.
So as soon as that job is complete,
It
and then we've been doing
triggers.
this for 2 years, that triggers it. But what we do is we pull in the name of the estimator, the name of the sales or the sales rep, the crew leader, the supervisor, the receptionist that they talk to.
So
So
they can
all
plug
those
those
names
in.
are in there, and they can say
Mhm.
like, "Oh, Susan was great, and I love talking
Right.
with Mia, and John worked so hard with his
Yes.
guys." So the reviews are personalized. But then we also would tell them like, if you really want to be awesome, mention like, concrete
Mhm.
epoxy coating or whatever the key words that matter for the business. So we'd been doing that for 2 years. And then ChatGPT comes along a year ago. And I was like, wait a minute. What if we fed all of this information that we know about the project into ChatGPT and say, hey,
Write a
draft
review.
a 5-star review based on all this information that we know about the project. I mean, you can even pull in, depending on the project management system, the dollar amount of the project just to give like context to ChatGPT. But the more information you can give it, the better review it can come up with for this. And what's mind blowing is that we had this idea like 6 months ago, and we talked to a couple of people, and there were people who were like, how are customers going to react? Are they going to be like, oh, this is like, are all your reviews generated by AI? Like, this isn't even personal. Like, are they going to be like offended by this? And my thought or belief, and you probably had this happen as an owner or business owner, how often do like your vendors say, hey, could you leave us a testimonial? And
Mhm.
it's very common in the business world to be like, just draft a testimonial for me that
Mhm.
would serve you, and I'll sign off on it and make an
Mhm.
edit if I need to, but you know what you want. So just tell me
Right.
what you want me to say, and I'll say
Right.
that that's good. And I
Right.
feel like it's the exact same thing in this space. And it's proven to be true that homeowners are not offended. And if anything, they are absolutely astounded at how good the review is, because they're like, we're not including all of the names and stuff in the requests anymore. It's just all fed in. It's like, please leave us a review. If you need ideas of what to say, we had AI draft a review based on your project details. Here you go. It's just literally like copy and paste it if you want. But what is mind boggling is that homeowners are like, this is literally what I would have said. Like it nailed everything. Cause we tell ChatGPT, like, Mia was the sales rep, the crew leader was John, the receptionist was Susan. And so like ChatGPT is just thinking like, if someone enjoyed working with a sales rep, it's probably because they were informative and educational. And so it's like putting all this content into the interaction with each person. And then this is the next level part of this is recently it now allows processing of images. So just literally this morning, timing's interesting. We had a meeting with a popular product in the home service space that manages photos.
Mm-hmm.
So we're working on a direct integration with this company to be able to extract the project photos and add that as content. So in addition to all the information on the service, we can also say, oh, and process this image. And based on what you see in the image, make assumptions on what this homeowner would use the space for or how they're going to use this now that it's done. And again, just mind blown. Like
Wow.
you upload pictures and there's like a basketball hoop or some skis on the wall, and it's like picking up on that. And it's like, our family is going to be able to enjoy many games of basketball out on our brand new paved driveway, or like
Right.
whatever the thing is. It's like it's putting
Yeah.
all this content in, and people are literally like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
how does it know this? And it's like,
Right.
well, we have all the information as a business. We just connected the systems and get it.
Right.
The more content that you or context that you give to ChatGPT, the better job it can do in creating that for you.
Absolutely. I love that. You know what I saw? I was at a trade show um a couple months ago, and I came across, for a startup. It was a startup tech expo. And so this gentleman came up and he asked, because we were exhibitors at the trade show. He said, we are taking audio reviews from the exhibitors and from the attendees. And we are transcribing the audio reviews and then, using AI to like synthesize in bulk all of these various reviews to give the trade show hosts or promoters, I don't know whoever put it on, like real time feedback, like bulk feedback on the event. And I was just like, what? And I'm just thinking, like, this is the direction that this space is going in. I mean, I love what you're saying, and I just can see how this is so applicable and a game changer for so many
Oh yeah.
industries. I mean, and I think it was great to hear that quickly, well, somewhat quickly realized that the HIPAA was going to be a hurdle, because it totally is. And
And I
just
would say I wish that I had said, I don't know if I ever did realize it until I just took a different job. I literally had given up on the software, and it was just
mm,
kind of like, I guess I'll plug in this thing to this problem I'm having, and that's when it worked. But
mm,
back to AI, Dan Sullivan, many people, great business coach and strategist. I heard him describe this recently, that AI is just electrification. And then
mm,
he went deeper into like all that, like people are like wondering, how are we going to use this? Is it here to stay? Is this like another crypto thing, or just like the NFTs, like all this stuff that's just been overhyped? Like, is AI just another hype thing? And he was like, no, it's literally the same thing that back in the 1900s, when they're like trying to get electricity into businesses and homes, and like have machines that can work longer and not,
mhm,
overheat, or whatever the things are, like light
mhm.
in your office so you can have your people work for more time. Just like all that it's doing is making things more efficient. So it's
Yeah,
like it's a time saving tool. So you
yeah,
can use AI in hundreds of different ways to take a 15-minute task and turn it into a 30-second task, or a 4-hour task and turn it into a 10-minute task. It's like the I'm curious, how often would you say you use ChatGPT or Gemini or some other AI tool? What for you, how often do you use that?
at least once every 48 hours.
Yeah, because I would say I personally feel like I use ChatGPT in particular probably half dozen times every single day. Like I'm
Yes.
just like and then the more you use it, the more you're like, whoa, like, your eyes are open to all these
Yeah.
other random use cases. Like the level of ways to use AI already, as like it's Chat GPT came out, 4 years ago, but or the Open AI came out with
Right.
it, but Chat GPT came out in November of last year. So it's been out like in the market for 13 months, and it's like it already what it can do and how much it's improved in 13 months is mind-boggling. And for me, I'm just like, I don't even know how to comprehend what's coming in 2 years from now. But my whole plan is just to try as hard as I can with all the imposter syndrome and doubt. And like, I feel like I don't know anything. And I'm talking to all these people that know so much more than I do. I'm just trying to cling to like the edge of this technology wave, just hang on as much as I can. And I believe that in doing so, I'll be set up with, there'll be opportunities and things that I can jump on. But I feel like anxiety when I talk to someone who's like, oh, I've never logged in. I've never tried. I don't know. I've heard of AI. I think that's kind of it's going to take over the world, and I'm worried it's going to take our jobs. And it's just like, man, like everybody should be experimenting and trying to wrap their head around this because it's it's so powerful, and it's crazy to see the more context that it can absorb and process, the more powerful it becomes. It's mind-blowing.
But let me ask you this: since you are so, pro AI and passionate about it, and I agree with you that it is an accelerator, and a time saver. And I think on the business side, it is absolutely necessary to use it. Within my company, I require that every single person in every single job, I don't care if you're in finance, you have to use ChatGPT. And we like went through like kind of a little training process where everybody had to actually watch some videos about it, learn it, see, and then come up with at least 3 ways they could apply it in their job. And that was like required that they had to use it. But just to unlock it for them so that they know, hey, there's this resource, and they're not going to be the person who says, hey, I don't know what this
I
is.
love that.
So, but as someone who is a parent, which it sounds like you may be or about
I
to
got
be.
4 kids. Yep.
Okay, there you go. It's a little scary. I'm going to tell you, my favorite action movie of all time is Terminator 2.
Mm.
And, if this doesn't sound like Skynet, I mean, like I've said, I'm pro ChatGPT, I'm pro AI, I'm pro integrating it. But what I'm scared of, not so much that it will become Skynet. I mean, it probably won't. Let's hope not. At least not in my lifetime or my child's lifetime. Please, can it be later on? But even if that doesn't happen, being in the generation that I'm in, um, I'm a little bit worried about the generation that is coming, or the youngest generation, the children, the
Yep.
under 10 right now,
Yep.
who are coming into a world that it's just so easy to create and to create thinking. I don't know how to say this. You don't need to think. You don't need to learn how to use a calculator. You don't need to know the Dewey Decimal System.
Mm.
You can't even go into a library and know how to even find a book now. And why would you? You would just go online
Yeah.
and just find the book, or not even find the book. Just, hey, YouTube, give me the cliff
Yeah.
notes. I'm gonna listen to it for 30 seconds. I don't even need to read anything. Do you even know how to read? I mean, I'm just thinking like
Yeah. Yeah.
this could have some really serious consequences moving on
I
that are.
love where you're going with this.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
have, yeah, this is just I'm pretty bullish on this idea as far as like any technology. And I don't want to understate. I do think that there's aspects of AI that have the potential to be used for, extreme evil. But I also think that, the internet or electricity or chariots back in the day, like anything has the potential to be good or evil. Like I do believe that strongly. And there will be people that do horrific things with it. So, but I also believe that there's no other way to live life than to be an optimist and be hopeful that the creatives and the good-hearted people will win out. Like why wake up thinking that the world is ending? Like even if it is ending, even if we're literally watching everything just crumble, I would rather live life from a perspective of like we're going to win this and we're going to inspire millions or make the world a better place. So that's
Mm-hmm.
the first thing I would say from just like, is it going to be Skynet or not or whatever? I feel like, yeah, there's going to be people that try and use, do cyber attacks and use AI and all this stuff. Like that's certainly going to happen, but there's also going to be the cavalry that is fending off the bad guys. And we need people that are going to do that. And it's probably going to be, AI versus AI. And, there will be a battle, but there's also going to be, I just feel like my choice is to be like, I understand and I believe that there is 100,000 ways this could be used for evil. I'm going to find the dozen ways or the 100 ways that I personally can use it for good and then do that.
Totally. Of course.
And
Of course.
then and
Yeah.
then from the parent side,
Yeah.
so I have personally experienced, like the autocorrect tools
Yeah.
for spelling
Yep.
or phones and numbers and stuff. Obviously, I do think there is the opportunity for us to be lazier with AI, just like you don't have to be a good speller now because Grammarly and autocorrect and everything just fixes your stuff as you're like, if you even type, you just, talk text to talk or whatever. And so there is that little tiny things like that where it's like, yeah, maybe we're not going to be as good as spellers anymore. But with my kids in particular, and I guess we'll find out in 20 years if this is a bad idea or not. I have a 6, 4, 2, and 3 month old. And
Okay.
so they're exactly who you're talking about. And what I love is finding ways to, and I actually have a video that will be out shortly on my YouTube channel that talks about how parents should use AI with their kids. Cause
Okay.
I've just been
Love that.
like coming
Oh,
up
I
with a crazy
love I
stuff.
gotta see
Well,
this.
the first thing is there's a coloring book. I'm just going to give a couple random examples. So my kids, I found out that that ChatGPT had this coloring book feature where you just it's a separate like GPT engine that you use,
Okay.
and you just say like whatever crazy prompt, and then it makes a page that you can color. That's a coloring page, and
Oh
so
my
my kids
God.
like from I like the idea of like, are we going to become less creative or whatever? I
Oh,
feel like again, it's like, is the glass half full or glass half empty, whatever. It's like, to me, I want my kids to leverage AI and understand like, how cool is it that as a 6 year old in today's world, I can be like I asked my daughter, hey, what do you want to color? And she said, dinosaurs eating ice cream on the moon while camping and looking at the stars. And like I can text you the picture that was generated. It was crazy. I was
please,
like, that
please
is the
do.
most absurd thing ever. And
Oh
it
my
made and then
gosh.
she was like, she sat down for the next hour and was coloring this thing that she had just conceived 30
Oh
seconds
my gosh.
before.
I
And so
love
to me, it's like, as opposed to 10 years ago, where your kid was forced to color whatever artwork
you
was
had
in the page in
right,
front of them.
right.
To me, I would come from the perspective of AI is going to be like, it's like the ultimate creative boost of just like whatever you want, like mixing random things. So that's the first thing. The other one, and I want your feedback on this, is I had my kids stay home, or they were sick. This was about a month ago. And what do your kids do when they're home from school? They just want to watch TV all day. It's like, no, you were home because you're sick. You need to
Right,
rest. So close
right,
your eyes and take a nap and actually
right,
let your body heal. So I
right.
asked ChatGPT to tell a story for a 5 year old about the importance of needing rest while you're sick. And I wanted it to include like like white blood cells and like talk about what happens inside your body, but make it interesting for a 5 year old. That was
Oh
the prompt.
my gosh.
And like, because I did the voice thing where it's actually speaking kind of like Siri. So I'm like, hey, kids,
I can
come
do
here,
that
listen to
either.
this. Yeah, it's like, hey, listen to this. And so they're sitting there and they're listening to, you know, Immunoland has General T cell who like is, like I can't even remember what it was, but it was all this science
Oh
stuff
my
that they're
god.
like listening and super engaged because it's making up characters. And it was one of the points was every time the little boy who was sick in this story that AI had made up, it was like this wave of reinforcements and cavalry came to go fight off and like kill
Ooh,
all the bad
wow.
viruses that were in the body. And so I was like, do you understand now why you need to sleep? And they're like, yeah, because we need, like, so
The
to
cavalry
me,
to save us. Oh
yeah.
my
So I
God.
feel like the beauty of AI is like taking these crazy concepts that as an adult I don't even understand of like tell me all the medical like science that's happening bio like organically in my body, but tell it to a 5-year-old and include dinosaurs and rocket ships. And it's just like it does that. It like literally can create anything. So I feel like to me, again, are there going to be ways that people are lazier or they don't do things the way that we did? Of course, like absolutely. But I just feel like the amount, like how the kids, like are my kids, when they grow up, they're literally going to think like the expectation of just like I should be able to do this and that and that. And there could become like some entitlement, but also from like a creative perspective, it's like, why can't that happen? Why isn't that possible? Like they just are like, I mean, I can do this or I can have AI come up with a meal plan for me. So why can't we do this other crazy thing? And, it's just, so I definitely am, um, I've talked to some people that are very big downers on
Mhm.
AI, and maybe they're realists, depending on who you're talking to. But I just feel like I guess I'm choosing to refuse that it's going to be a horrible thing. I do think it's going to completely change the way we work, we talk, we like all of our jobs are going to be affected. But I just feel like how many times in human history have we been like, oh, technology is going to ruin us? And it's like, yes, there are things that are different and possibly worse, but there are other things that are also better. Um, so I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens, and I'm just excited about how technology is fun and engaging, and I love trying to find fun ways for my kids to interact with it.
Well, we still need to teach them how to use a calculator and do a decimal system. I'm sticking by that, Chris. So, tell ChatGPT to tell your children a bedtime story tonight on behalf of Mia about the Dewey Decimal System and why it's so important to know what that is.
That's great. That's a good idea. We do nightly bedtime stories where I tell their names. And so they
Uh-huh.
each get to be in the story and then they each pick like a
I am
random
obsessed. I am
character.
so obsessed with
It's
this
such a
idea.
good
The
idea.
bedtime story thing is amazing. So
Yeah.
that brings me into my next question, which is tell me one book, podcast, or resource that has been really instrumental or influential for you on your journey as a founder to change your mindset.
Mm. Can I take a minute to look at I was gonna say buy
ChatGPT,
back your
no,
time,
do
but
not
that's
look up ChatGPT
not
answers.
ChatGPT. No, no, no. I've got my Audible account. Um, there's a couple ones that I'm just like, I want to give a good one because I like if SaaS people are going to listen to this, I do love Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. Really good
Mhm.
one. My official answer, I'm going to say, mm, yeah, I'm gonna go with a Dan Sullivan book, Who Not How. Have you
I
read
was
that
going to
one?
bring that book up to you today when you were talking about when you have that idea about your product not matching who you're currently trying to serve with it. Think about who would benefit from it, and that's what made me think of that book. And I was going to say that to you.
Yeah, I
That
think
is
Who
so
Not How.
interesting.
Yeah, I probably recommended that. I love Dan Sullivan stuff. The 10x is easier than 2x is another great one, but Who Not How. I feel like for me, and this is in recent year of my life, it's just that idea of like how often as entrepreneurs or just I mean people in general, there's always the temptation when someone comes to you and says, "Hey, like first like and this is me also as I'm selling my service to somebody else." There's always that temptation of like I feel like I could probably do this for less. Like I bet I could come up with a solution that's cheaper or it's not gonna like because the cost, you get caught up on like, wait, how much is your solution? And then you get into the like I'm trying to figure out how would I solve this.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you want to make sure you find the right solution. But again and again and again, I just feel like the people that they move quickly, and when they encounter a problem, they say, who is the person that's going to crush this problem once and for all? Those are the people that move quickly. They grow businesses. They inspire people because they stay in their lane. They figure out their zone of genius, and then they outsource everything else. And I feel like when you process and really understand that, and you get like, I still struggle with, like, we had, the door in our house is crooked, and it's like, oh, I could probably, figure that out. But there's like 16 other, handyman related things that I said I was going to do. And the honey-do list keeps getting longer because I'm busy. We
Right.
finally just called a handyman. He knocked out like 12 of our projects. I wrote him a check for like $400. I was like, that was freaking amazing. Like, I've been thinking about these things for like a year. And anyway, so yeah, when you find the problem, who's the person that's going to solve it? Don't try and figure out how to solve it.
That book has been the said as the favorite book on multiple episodes at this point.
That's it's a great book.
Yeah, so I better read it soon. Okay. What is the number one challenge that you face as an entrepreneur? I think you talked about a lot of challenges you had, but is there one that really just is the most memorable for you? The one that really just after you solved it, that just changed the trajectory of your life or your business?
I would say it's more of like an ongoing thing that I'm trying to be aware of, and that is, when I look back 3 years ago, I was in a job that I loved. I was convinced that this was a job I was going to be in for a long time. I thought I was making good money, more money than I'd ever made before. And then I zoom ahead to where I'm at now and the number of things that have happened. And I look back at the problems or the obstacles that were holding me back or preventing
Mm,
me from going in and building the business or going and doing my own thing. And I feel like it's more of like a mindset around, when I look back, or I'm sure everyone's had the situation where someone comes to you and says, hey, I have this problem, right?
mm,
And to them, it seems like this is ridiculously hard. How am I ever going to solve this? But if you were to approach somebody that has done that a dozen times, and they almost do it in their sleep now because it's not even a thing that they spend time on, like, we've had that experience of like people coming to me and being like, oh, I don't know what to do. How do I start this business? What am I supposed to do? And I'm like, well, just go do, like, you file an LLC, and then you make a bank account, and then you talk to someone and they see if they want, if they don't want it, talk to somebody else. Like, it's just like, so just like take steps. So I use that as an analogy, that the problem that, or the challenge, is like, I'm just the same. It's like the same thing. The problems are different, but I know that the problems that I have are like easy for someone that's been here and done that. So it's like,
mm.
that's why I invested in SaaS Academy and being around people that are solving problems that I have, because the knowledge of how to solve stuff and the frameworks and the structures and all that stuff is like, I just feel like it's a never ending game of leveling up your mindset. And also, I'd say, outside of like, I'm not, when I talk about problems to solve, it's not like, how do I build this thing or develop this thing? It's more of like, where is my mindset holding me back? And
Right.
how do I need to rethink and take a step back and say, Chris, you're sabotaging yourself,
Yep.
and continue to like seek advice and feedback and have people mirror to you, like, what I'm hearing you say is this. And it's like, oh crap, yeah, you're right. And to continue that evolution of maturing and developing yourself.
Love it. So where can people find you and Boolean Review, Chris?
Yeah.
Online.
So I've been investing in my personal brand in the last 6 months. So I have a website, chriskeifer.com. And that's going to be the home of like all my stuff. So if you're just wondering what Chris is up to, I've got a YouTube channel, a podcast called The Pursuit of Purpose, and a link to the Boolean website as well. But that's the primary, probably the easiest way. I'm on LinkedIn. Um, I have like all the social stuff, but I would say probably check out the website, and that's Chris Keifer, Kiefer, I before E always. So KIEFER.com.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Okay. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us today. That wraps up this episode, and we hope to see you in the next one. Thanks so much.